Hi, everyone. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight again. I'm not sure. Things are pretty bad out there with the virus. It's definitely turning into a pandemic. And I think within the next 2 weeks to a month, we know a lot more. But there are a lot of people infected right now worldwide, including people in San Francisco and the Bay Area. We don't know enough about the virus yet, but one thing for sure is that many of us who get infected might not show any symptom, but we could be a carrier, never the same. So we could pose some significant risk to the elderlies, as well as potentially to you guys. And so I'm going to really pay attention. And this might be my last visit until things clean up. But today is a very important day anyway, because one of you guys are getting out. And I've been coming here for a little bit less than a year. And this is actually the first time that I have one of you guys leaving. And I'm excited that we might get a chance to see each other outside. Although I'm told that while you're on probation, I am not allowed to contact you. But I'm hoping that you can contact me, or that we can contact each other after you're free from or your engagement, so to speak. So today I'm gonna. I wanted to bring this one topic that I thought had made the most impact on myself all the time that I've been here, and the topic is 5 Skandhas are empty, which, as you know, we discussed in great detail a few weeks ago when we were discussing the Heart Sutra. But before I do that, I yesterday when we had our online meditation, we had a discussion. This is outside, and we talk about having faith. How that is important to have faith in our master's teaching, faith in the benefits of the teaching. And most important of is faith in the support of a Sangha. And I think I didn't understand that when I first came, how important this Sangha, this prison Sangha had, how important it is to me that I'm learning from you. And it's with that spirit that I talk about the 5 Skandhas are empty. For those of us who are outside, or who are probably listening to this now outside, they don't really understand what San Quentin is. Probably what they know about San Quentin is all the riots many decades ago. But what they don't understand is that San Quentin is one of the oldest. I think it's the oldest prison in the state of California. It was built in the 1800s. But in a way, it's actually hard to understand San Quentin, because it's actually, my understanding is that it's actually 3 prisons in one. It's the only prison in the state of California that has death row, and so about 750 people or inmates who are on death row. Although there hasn't been any execution since 2006, and our current governor actually had declared that he will not carry out any execution. But in addition, this prison, if I understand it correctly, was built originally for only 3,000 inmates, but of course we know there's a lot more than that, almost twice as many of that. So let's say you take 5,000, and out of the 5,700 or so are the people on death row. The remaining is actually separated into two different parts of the prison system. Now, this is not for you. I mean, I'm just for the people like me who don't understand this prison system. So and as you explained to me, that it's basically separated into the South Block and the North Block. In the South Block, you guys call this the reception, and this is in that part, the inmates wear orange. There's a very famous TV show called "The Orange is the New Black." Oh, that's what they wear, and it's called a reception because people are there for a very short time, or even if they have very long sentences, they might not stay there for a long time. It's just where they get processed. It's a very violent part of the jail. This is where San Quentin get all the bad name. On the other hand, you guys, right? You guys who wear the blue, you're from the North Block. Right? So many of you are here for a long time, 25 to life. I mean, like they say in television. But you're also relatively low violent, right? Level 4, right? That's what we call it. So the one observation I made is that so if you think that there's about 2,000 of you who are longtime residents of San Quentin, for one reason or another, who are here, there are 2,000 of you who are relatively low violent. We have about 50 people here, right? I mean, we have less today, but some days we have more, some days we have less. If everybody show up, there are 50 of you who are very dedicated Buddhist meditation practitioners. That's actually very tremendous if you think of it in terms of a percentage. Because our 2,000, they're 50. That's basically 2.5%. In San Francisco, forget about the Bay Area. Just in San Francisco, we have 750,000 people. 2.5% of that would have been 25,000. We don't have 10% of that. Right. So I want to bring that up because the reason I want to talk about 5 Skandhas are empty is because there's a reason for that dedication, and it's embedded in this very famous phrase in the Heart Sutra. So before I talk about 5 Skandhas are empty, one of the problems with the Heart Sutra, the English version of the Heart Sutra, is that it is translated word by word from the Chinese Heart Sutra. Okay, and the Chinese is a very difficult language in that a single word does not have meaning. Its meaning can be very subtle and complex depending on what that single word is conjugated with. So when the word empty is translated from the Chinese word hong, it's difficult to know the meaning. And so we typically think of empty, at least the way we study the English version of the Heart Sutra, as nothingness, right? As if 5 Skandhas are nothing. And of course, there are two problems. One is that no one ever explained that is not just nothingness. That's one. The other one is that the Heart Sutra reinforced that, right? Because in the middle of the Heart Sutra, where you have in emptiness, there's no body, no feeling, no thought, no will, no consciousness. There's no eye, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. I mean, and on and on and on. So basically, it just repeats itself. So it's hard to get out from that mental process, that thought process, that emptiness. Empty just has to mean nothingness, right? So one of the things that I want to talk about today is that no, it's not. That's not the meaning of empty. That's definitely not the meaning of empty in the Chinese version of the sutra. Although I would argue that 90% of the people who study the Heart Sutra thinks that, but it's not, right? But before I even get to that part, I want to kind of review for ourselves the meaning of Skandhas, right? What is this? What is 5 Skandhas? So obviously, again, I have to go back to either the Chinese word or the Sanskrit word. But I think it's much easier if I just kind of explain what I think it is, right? So when I'm an engineering professor, so in engineering we have these devices called transducers, right? Transducers. So for example, when I speak to a mic, the mic is a transducer because it's a media. It takes something from one medium and convert it into something else, which would be in a different medium. It's like a funnel. It's a door. It's something goes in one side and something comes out the other side. So this, in my mind, is the easiest way to explain the 5 Skandhas, in that what we're talking about is really the body and the mind, right? Because just let me back up a step. When we talk about Heart Sutra, again, that's a translation from a single Chinese word meant some that's in heart. Although when we think about heart, we have 2 meanings. We have like heart as in our, the organ here that's pumping blood. That's called a heart. Or we would say, this guy has a big heart, which stands for love and all that. But in the Chinese meaning, in the Heart Sutra, it means mind. But which is different from the brain. Okay, so what it's talking about is really our existence, because we typically think about existence as a physical existence. So when we talk about the Mind Sutra, we're really talking about something else. We're talking about there is something else that is not a physical existence. It's a spiritual existence. Okay, so we have to bring in that possibility that our existence is not just what we can see, what we can feel, that there's something else in our existence that we can't, that exists, but we don't know what it is, right? We accept its existence. And so the Heart Sutra kind of allows us to study that existence. And so when we talk about the 5 Skandhas, the 5 stages, or the 5 transducers, the 5 groupings, we're really describing our entire existence from the physical to spiritual. Okay, so the 5 Skandhas are form, sensation, perception, volition, and consciousness. Now, right away there's a problem, because we see the words and then we attach our own interpretation to the words. So when we talk about sensation, that means, that's how we feel. Perception means that, that's how we perceive things. And volitions, could be mental formation. Consciousness, that at least that's something more abstract. We don't necessarily very quickly attach our everyday meaning to that. So before we understand the 5 Skandhas, the first thing we have to do is we have to kind of make ourselves a promise to just say, okay, those are just words, and let's not worry about the meaning, because our meaning, the meaning that we attach to the word, might not be the true meaning. Okay, so let me just kind of explain it one step at a time. So let's just take form, which is the first Skandha. On the left side, so again, think of this pictorially. The incoming, there's a left and the right. Okay, so the left is what's incoming, and the right is what's outgoing. What's incoming is called the 5 sensors, the 5 stimulants, Okay, so. And then on the right-hand side is what we call the 5 sensors, 5 sense doors. So it's the form is a Skandha that connects the physical stimulants in the outside world with the physical receptors or sensors in our body. So our body has 5 sensors: has the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and then our body. Whereas the 5 stimulants are the sight, which matches the eye, the sound, which matches the ear, the smell is the nose, the taste is the tongue, and then the touch is the body. All right. So again, this first scander, the form scanners, essentially connects the physics with the physiology. That's all. Okay. At the same time, it actually encompasses all the physical existence of not only us, but the world. That's it. It's the entirety of a physical existence. Everything else now is beyond physics. It's beyond the physical. Okay? So form is the first scanner, is the first funnel, if you will, that takes the outside world stimulus and engage the sensors, the organs, the sensing organs of our existence, our body. That's the first scanner. The second scanner, it's called sensation or feeling, but actually there is no sensation and feeling here. It's just a word that we use. And what it does is that it talks about how the five sensors, the five sense organs, which I call the ear, the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, the body, and it generates electrical signals. So in other words, when we see color, it's the physics engaging the physiology, and then the physiology initiate neurology. So in this case, we have 5 stimulants, 5 sense organs, and 5 consciousness. The eye sees color and generate eye consciousness. The ear hears the sound and generate the ear consciousness. Okay, so you have 5 on one side, 5 in the middle, and then 5 on the other side. When the physics engages the physiology, that's the form scanner. When the physiology engage and when the physiology generates neurology, we call that the sensation scanners. Okay, so some people use the word feeling instead of sensation, but it's important to say that there is no feeling yet. This is just straight physics, physiology, and neurology. Okay, so in other words, I'll give you an example where, suppose I give you a ice cream cone with chocolate ice cream, and then at the same time I give you a replica. When it looks identical. Your eye sees something, and it generates an electrical signal. Right? It sees the color, the shape, and the electrical signal that it generates would be identical, whether it's the real ice cream or the make-believe ice cream, because they look identical. However, the taste would be very different, and the touch would be very different. But at this stage, we don't know that it's real or not real. All we know is that we see the color, we see the taste, we see the smell, we can hear the sound, and we can touch and feel the temperature. That's it. There's no we haven't made any decision yet as to what that is yet. Okay, so the third scanner is the one that takes these 5 neurological signals, these 5 different consciousness, and give it to the 6th sense organ. Remember, we always talk about the 6 organs. So far we only talk about 5, which are the eye, the ear, the nose, the tongue, and the body. So there's one more. That one more is called what we call the mind. Right? But again, the 6 organs is physical. So here, when we talk about the mind, we're only talking about the big brain, the cerebrum. We're not really talking about the mind as in Heart Sutra yet. All right? So that's the third scanner. And then the fourth scanner, we call it the volition or the mental formation. That's when the mind, which now has absorb all the different electrical signals, or group them, it generates another signal called what we call the mind consciousness. That's the one where we said, okay, it's an ice cream, I like it. No, it's not the ice cream, I'm upset because somebody is trying to fool me. Or I would say, it's the ice cream, chocolate, good, I like it. Or you say, vanilla, it's okay, but I wish it's better. It's not chocolate, right? That's when you actually make the decision as to like or dislike. And so in Buddhism, they actually it's actually quite detailed in how they analyze this mind consciousness. So they actually, there's something called the 51 mental factors, which are the building blocks. And so just for simplicity, you can have wholesome or unwholesome, but there's actually more. So there's like 5 different groupings, but I'm just for simplicity, I'm going to talk about what would be wholesome. Well, the emotion that you have would be faith, would be energetic, would be shame, would be calmness, would be non-aggression, would be equanimity, and on and on. Those are the good feeling, good mental factors. Whereas the opposite of that would be the unwholesome mental factors, which are delusion, carelessness, laziness, doubt, and on and on and on, right? So this is when you actually generate a thought. It could be a wholesome thought, it could be an unwholesome thought, and it could be neither wholesome nor unwholesome. But that's only the 4th skandha. Now the 5th skandha is called the consciousness. It's called the consciousness. And that's the one where once you generate that thought, okay, it actually leaves behind a memory. That's what we call karma. Now this is the part that this idea is completely unique in Buddhism. In that when you it's think about it like this. Think about it like this. I'm going to put a tomato. So I would have to have some seeds. And if I don't plant the seeds, I won't have tomato. If I plant the seeds, I might not have put tomato. Right? There's a possibility, but I might not. So then I have to provide some conditions. So the conditions, if I provide the correct conditions, like ploughing the earth and giving it water and so forth, eventually I will have tomato. So if you think about the first 4 skandhas, seeing something, right? The physics that is in front of you, that would be the seed, right? If you see a person you like, you said, I like him. You see a person I don't like him. Not only that, but I want to beat the crap out of him. That's like the seed and the fruit. But in between, you have to provide a lot of conditions, right? You can choose not to see the person. You could choose to see the person and not generate bad thoughts. There's a lot of things you can do in the middle that could either allow you to have a fruit or prevent you from having fruit. It's not a given. On the other hand, once you have the fruit itself have a lot of seeds. And that seed is stored somewhere in our mind, which is what we call karma. In other words, when you see something you don't like, when we talk about this a great deal, when you see injustice, when a guard approaches you and make unreasonable demands, you can have 2 choices. You can react with violence, or you can choose to ignore it. And you say, well, I'll suffer the consequence of that, which means that if you react with violence, you end up in the hole. Okay? If you don't react with violence, you get to live another day. So you always suffer the physical consequence of your mental action. But it turns out you also suffer the spiritual consequence of your mental action. Even if you have ill will towards somebody and you haven't acted on it, but the fact that you have a mental thought generate its own seed, and those seeds are stored in our mind, in part of our mind, what we call karma, or we call the alaya consciousness, or the 8th consciousness. We don't need to talk a great deal about that today, but I just want to let you know that when you have a mental action, it's like having electricity, and that electricity generates magnetism, and that magnetism is a storage, is a memory. The problem is the next time you have that thought process again, those unwholesome seeds would dominate. So in other words, if you're accustomed to violence, you would have a lot of seeds left behind, or the violent seeds. then you can't help it that the next time when you are faced with the same or the similar situation, that you will react violently. It's a habitual pattern, right? So, what does emptiness mean now? What does emptiness mean? So emptiness means that all things are empty of intrinsic existence. That means that our existence, whether it's physical or mental, especially our mental existence, the way we react is in fact free from any pre-orchestration. Now, what do you mean? You say, well, what do you mean? He says, well, do you believe in God? He said, well, why are you talking about God? We're in a Buddhist group here. Well, you can talk about God. There's nothing that says that you can't talk about God in Buddhist teaching. In fact, in Buddhist teaching, he himself talks a lot about God. God has a different name, right? God is the spiritual being who is responsible for our creation, and the name is Brahman, right? He's an entity that lives beyond our realm. Okay. So Buddha actually, I mean, he had nothing against God in that sense. What he has is that he says God doesn't orchestrate your life. You can't just say that was what God had in mind. No, actually God is busy. And you can't say that I'm not going to fix this. I'll give it to God. Let him worry about it. You can't do that. He's busy. Our entire existence is free from any orchestrations. Our entire existence is based on causality. It's based on seed. It's based on having the right conditions. And when we're free to change those conditions. In other words, 5 skandhas are empty means that we can control our own destiny. If you don't think you can control your destiny, you're doing it wrong. You're wasting your time here. The very fact that we are here, the very fact that we have such a dedicated group, right? 50 people representing 2.5% of the prison populations, means that we want to change our own destiny. Right? Not only do we want to change our own destiny, meaning that no outside power can control our destiny. We want to change our own destiny by saying that no internal hindrances can change our destiny, can control our destiny, that we can even change that. We are our own master. That's what it means. 5 skandhas are empty means that our entire existence, whether it's physical or spiritual, are free. This is a very profound statement if you think about it. 5 skandhas are empty is a very, very profound statement. It is as profound as the Emancipation Proclamation, that when President Lincoln in the year 1862, when we were still in the midst of the Civil War, he said that all slaves, all human beings are free. It is against God's will that one human being can enslave another. Now, he chooses to use the word emancipation as opposed to liberation. You can't liberate a human being from slavery. Right? Because we are supposed to be free to begin with. All you have to the only thing you need to do to be free is stop enslaving us. That's it. All right? So this is why I think this group is so dedicated. This is why I think I keep wanting to come here every week, And when I think that I cannot come because of the virus, I'm very, very sad and very, very upset. Because this group of people, you guys, all of you, have experience that we don't have in the outside. For better or worse, I'm not saying that you don't belong here or that you don't deserve to be here. I'm not saying that. That's not for me to judge. What I am saying is that out of a population of 2,000 inmates in the North Block, you guys choose to believe that even though your body is being incarcerated, no one has the right to incarcerate your mind. And you're seeking liberation, but more importantly, in fact, you're seeking emancipation of your mind. That no outside power, whether it's God or otherwise, has a plan for you. You can change that plan if there is one, right? And you can change that plan by understanding your own hindrances. So that's the main difference. That is the main difference. So one more thing and then I'll stop. So typically in the outside, when we practice meditations, we practice from the standpoint of wanting to have something to improve a physical life. So I call that practice to live. They practice in order to live a better physical life. When I come here, I live to practice. Right? My physical existence is just a vehicle for me to practice spiritually. It's the opposite of what I do outside. 5 skandhas are empty. We are completely free of any control or any hindrances. We can change our destiny. Thank you.